Hi, welcome back. I'm so excited that you're here because we are going to talk about fall. It is the fourth season of the 5 seasons of connection, and it really is one of the smaller seasons that we have, but it's super profound. Once you start to understand fall in your relationship, it kind of changes everything because you will start to notice when things are slipping and the temperature is changing before it becomes a full-fledged winter storm. You are able to stop it before it gets to those deep, dark places and prevent some of those huge storms that just keep us disconnected from our partner for way too long. So what is fall? Fall signals that winter is on its way if things don't change, right? It is exactly as we continue on, there will be winter. It is that path. Fall is when you may feel caught off guard by your partner's snark or bark. You might be impatient or irritated around them. You might be having conflict over small, trivial things. And you don't know why, because those things aren't even important, but the nitpicking or the criticisms are starting to occur. You might be holding grudges a little bit longer than you normally do. You might notice a new chill in the air around them. You're not quite as lovey-dovey as you were. And you might find yourself changing your routine or your schedule to avoid them. So why does fall happen? Fall happens for 3 reasons. The first one is there is a lack of control. So in your relationship, something feels out of control. Now that might be something external. It might be a job or something from your family of origin, or there might be a crisis in your neighborhood, but you have the feeling of being out of control and it shows up in your relationship in fall. So something happens externally, you let it swirl inside you, and then you bring it into the relationship. That's one cause of fall. Another cause of fall is there's a disconnect between the expectation and the reality. Now that could be your expectation and reality or your partner's expectation and reality. And this is often the case for people who have small children at home, and the parent who comes back, the partner who comes back to the home at the end of a work day doesn't understand the level of chaos and exhaustion and commotion. And they just think, you were here with a little person all day. Like, I don't understand. Why isn't dinner ready or the house tidy? There's a massive disconnect, and that is an absolute path to winter for sure. But there's also, just that expectation has not been reset as the child is changing. And anybody who has children or a puppy knows that you might think you're on top of things, and then holy Hannah, you are on top of nothing. You are underneath it all because everything has just been upended. So the expectation and reality one creeps up in many ways, but I see it particularly with people with children because children keep changing and they keep bringing new stressors and new experiences to a family. And so you have to find a way on top of the situation, right? Otherwise you're just kind of under the mess and you have to figure out a way to get out. The third sign that fall is on his way is somebody has unmet needs. And this is what's sometimes called slippage. So you might be feeling like, okay, I can be patient for whatever. I can wait for this. And then you get tired of waiting, or you get tired of putting your needs last. And so those unmet needs might show up in other conversations in kind of a snarky or cold way. You don't intend it, and oftentimes you don't know it's happening, but if you have unmet needs in any part of your life, it can absolutely creep out in your relationship. Now, this is both true if you and your partner have unmet needs together, if there are unmet physical needs or emotional needs or intellectual needs. Think about the wellness wheel that we talked about in spring. There are 10 categories. If you are stunted or repressed in any of those ways, if you are feeling like you are very unfulfilled, physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, then it absolutely can come out in fall behavior with your partner. So that kind of slippage is something I want us to pay attention to, because things might have been fine or you might have felt like you were on top of it, but those unmet needs are still unmet, and then it kind of gnaws. And it's just this low grade chronic inflammation in your soul that shows up in fall behavior. So a couple of questions that we have to talk about when we think about fall are, where can we have more opportunity for control? So if the problem in your relationship, if the thing that is pushing you towards winter, if the thing that took you out of summer has something to do with control, that you don't feel like you're in control of things, your partner is making the decisions, or they have final say, anything like that, how can we balance it out a little bit so both partners have access to decision-making experiences, right? Like to dismiss decision-making power. So how can both parties have more control, have equal control, have balanced control, have proportional control? The second question we can ask is, where might you have unmet needs, right? And it's very easy to say, oh, well, I'm not, as intimate in the bedroom as I would like, so I have unmet needs. Well, it never starts there, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit later in the 5 elements of awareness. But when we think about where the unmet needs are, that might be spotlighting. So open up the bigger picture, right? Perhaps there are other things going on contributing to that, and this is just one piece of it. But there actually is more, there are more pieces to that puzzle, right? So just spotlighting on that one thing perhaps then makes you feel that you have unmet needs and your needs are unmet, but somebody else might have unmet needs too, right? Somebody else might be longing for an emotional connection, or a physical connection that isn't necessarily leading to that level of intimacy, just touching and hugging and, caressing and holding hands. Like that level of physical intimacy might be lacking. And so you have unmet needs, but your partner also has unmet needs, right? So it never is typically one thing. There's typically more to the story. Of course, the whole picture includes many different components. So if you are finding yourself in fall, back up a little bit and see what else is going on. What are the unmet needs that you feel? And then what are all the things in that environment that contribute to that? That actually might mean your partner has unmet needs in a different way. And so there's 2 levels of disconnection here. And then the third thing is, if there is a disconnect between the expectation and the reality, how can you bridge that gap? So there are times that you can't, right? Somebody has an expectation and very quickly reality shows it's very different. And so you don't have time to re-educate or to explain or to fill the gap or to explore other options. But as best as possible, if you have an expectation of date night, for example, that you have scheduled on the calendar and it's Friday night and you are super excited and you've been waiting all week and you just know that you love to go dancing, so you want to go out dancing and go grab dinner and, go to this outdoor festival, and it's going to be really big and loud and just energized, and it's going to be amazing. But your partner's had a really tough week, and their idea of date night is, popping some popcorn, ordering in some, Thai food and cuddling on the sofa and, watching some old movie, right? Somebody is going to be very disappointed come Friday night. Either, the dancing person is going to be angry that this person doesn't want to go out, or this person will be angry that this person doesn't want to stay in and just relax and be quiet and have a nice peaceful night at home. That is definitely fall and going into winter. So as best you can, be clear about what your needs are, what your expectations are. Hey, I know we have date night on Friday night. I was really hoping to hit up this new restaurant and go dancing and this outdoor festival. What are you thinking? Oh, this week does not, I'm not feeling it. I'm so stressed. I'm so, well, maybe, we can have dinner at home, but can we go to the festival for 45 minutes and just check it out and kind of, it's only one weekend, it's here. We can't go another time. Do you think we can do a little bit of both? Yeah, you know what? Why don't we try that? And so you come to a common ground because you know what the expectations are and you can both work together to try to find a win-win. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you only hold your expectation in your heart, then it's going to be more problematic when the reality shows up and those expectations are not met, right? We know that for sure. So as many times as we can prevent the expectation and the reality being so far apart, the better. Now, one thing that always is a component of fall is our wellness. And I mentioned it a few minutes ago when I was thinking of the wellness wheel and all the different 10 categories. But when we're in fall, it is really important for us to consider where we are. Because if we are starting to come to our relationship depleted, empty, depressed, unenergized, any of those ways in any of our 10 categories, it's going to spill out into other areas, which impacts our relationship completely. So whenever you're feeling like fall is here, or there's a new chill in the air, or there's just things are slipping. We're not in summer like we were. The first thing I want you to do is check your well-being, right? Go back to this chart and map quickly, just where am I in all 10 categories? How am I doing spiritually, emotionally, in our relationship, physically, socially, energetically, intellectually, environmentally, occupationally, and financially? How am I doing in all of these areas, and how is my partner doing in all of these areas? Because it might actually not be what you think, right? It might be that this person, your partner, has been is back in school. So they work during the day, they go to school at night, they've been chained to a desk, they have not, done anything fun. So their social level is really low, and environmentally, they don't even know what color the trees are right now because they have been so head down in their own work and schoolwork, right? So you might say, you know what, let's actually go for an evening stroll, or there's a forest near our house. Why don't we go for a trail walk for half an hour? Like, let's just get out and breathe some fresh air and just, kind of be in nature. That might be all your partner needs to kind of get those levels boosted up. And that might be actually all you need to get those areas boosted up. So check on your wellness and just see where you're high and where you're low. Because you might need to change your practices. You might need to think, you know what, I actually was doing yoga or softball or, taekwondo, and I kind of dropped off. Like it ended and I didn't continue. I really need something in my life that's physical. I need to recommit. And so this is an opportunity for you to check what's in my individual garden that's been a little neglected. Am I intellectually stimulated? Do I have great success and fulfillment in my job? Am I building a great social network? Like where am I at? Let's take this snapshot and go from there. And one thing that we always talk about in fall, on top of where we are in our wellness, is where we are in our calendar. Because one thing that happens when we get super depleted and a little bit snappy is we're overextended. Right? So not only are some of those areas low, but they are low because we're giving everything away and we're not replenishing. We're not putting back in what we're giving away to other people. Now that could be giving away to our kids. We could be giving it to our partner, our parents, family members, our community, our churches and synagogues and temples. We could be doing nonprofit work. We could be giving it away to, social media and, kind of mindless scrolling. We could be giving it away in a lot of ways. But I want to check, how is your calendar looking? Because if you do not have space in your calendar to do intentional replenishment, like true self-care that actually fills you up, you are going to be depleted faster and more often. You will be in fall more often personally, and more likely in your relationship more frequently. So when we're thinking about our calendars, I want you just to take a peek at what you did last week. We all have our phones. Most of us have calendars on them. Just look at what you did. What were your commitments? Where did you need to buy, take out pizza 2 nights in a row because you just, you were overwhelmed with all of your commitments, or, you weren't on top of things and you felt bad, so you felt behind, you felt slippage in your life. You were apologizing a lot because everything just piled up on top of you. That isn't a summer feeling, right? So let's get a handle on our calendar. And when we look at our coming week, so we have last week, which we can use as a gauge. When we're looking at this coming week, wherever in the week you see this video, look at what you can accelerate. Like, what can you just blast through? Set a timer for 30 minutes and just get it done. What things can you consolidate? Maybe instead of doing 2 different chores, you bundle them together. So I will do this chore when I do this, and I will do that other errand when I'm already going in that direction. So I'm not wasting time. How can you consolidate your stuff? What can you automate? Can you pay more of your bills automatically out of your bank account? Can you order groceries online and have them ready so you can just drive and pick them up or get them delivered? Some stores have that service. If you spend over X amount, they'll deliver it for free. That might actually fit your life perfectly in this season. Can you eliminate things altogether? Are there things in your life you're just thinking, why am I even doing this? I don't even want to do it. I don't even like to do it. I don't even get anything out of it, and it doesn't really benefit anyone. So I should probably eliminate it. And then, are there things you can delegate? So this is obviously a place in which you can say, I don't want to do this anymore. Who else can take this on? If it's at work, if it's in your family, if it's with your children, if it's with neighbors, if it's on, volunteer organizations that you're working with, what can you actually offload? Because as much as we want to be everything to everyone, if we want to have a relationship of our dreams, our relationship needs to come first. It needs to be a priority. So what are you prioritizing in your life? If you have to be on every volunteer committee at your child's school, or you need to be a part of every ongoing discussion, in your community events, or if you need to go to every family dinner, to help do things and you really don't want to, and that means you're impacting your own relationship negatively, you need to decide, where are my boundaries, right? Where's my individual garden and what really needs to live there? And if things are in your garden that you don't want, you can remove them. You can say, I'm sorry, as much as I would love to commit to this, it's not the right time for me. Or, thank you for inviting me to be at your event. I really appreciate it. I make a plan never to commit without 24 hours of thinking and evaluation. So I will get back to you in 24 hours. And you can decide, does this fit my life? Does this fit me and my partner's plans for our weekend or our vacation or our evenings, right? Because anything you say yes to means there's a no. And oftentimes our yeses to everybody else is a no to our core relationship, because we think, oh, he'll understand, she'll understand, they'll get it, they'll be fine. Maybe they're not, right? If you're not prioritizing your relationship, there's only so many times that will work before your partner just thinks, okay, I get sloppy seconds. My partner comes home, they're tired, they're frustrated, they're angsty, they just want to have a shower and go to bed. And so I've waited all day for them. And what was that for? We're like roommates. We're living 2 separate parallel lives, and we're barely 2 ships crossing in the night, right? That's super disconnection. That's not where you want to be. So fall is a time for you to say, whoa, if we don't make changes, something is going to take us to winter. It might be this conflict, or something new might blow in, and we are definitely going to go to winter. And I don't want that. So we need to take this as a warning. Fall is a time for us to say, we're going to stop. We're going to look at our gardens. We noticed all the beautiful flowers growing and all the gorgeous blossoms from the summer. What we didn't notice was the little pests that climbed in and the little weeds that popped up. We didn't notice the little things underneath because we were so happy up here in summer. But now these little pests and weeds are causing problems, and we need to stop and deal with what's down here. And that's exactly what fall asks us to do. So what did we learn in fall? We learned what fall is for me and what is fall for my partner. Because when we understand what our patterns of behavior are, we can recognize them faster. And we can say, do we want to go down this path? Do we want to get to winter? What is going on, and what is it trying to tell us? Probably it's something about our schedule, our energy, or our wellness, right? Something is low, something is depleted, and we are reacting to our life. So we need to kind of get things back in check. Something is off, we need to pay attention. What are some early signs that we're slipping? So is it that you get really quiet, or do you get really busy, or do you get a little bit snippy, or do you get a little bit passive aggressive and you start zinging your partner because you're kind of fed up and every little thing is irritating you? Pay attention to what you behave like in fall. So when it happens, you can be like, oh, I know what this is. I'm in fall. Okay, I need to course correct. What are some of your personal and family rhythms? So when we think about your personal rhythm, are you an early bird, a night owl? Do you get more energy being around a lot of people? Do you prefer quiet time at home alone? What are your personal rhythms? And do those align with your partner's? Because if there's opposites in personal rhythms, then there is going to be conflict and disappointment, and expectations will not meet reality because you're so different. So then you'll need intentional planning. You'll need compromise. You'll need partnership and shared goals together that you both buy into. Because if it's just one person driving it, then the other person will feel railroaded for sure. That is a definite path to winter. What self-care practices do we need to recommit to? And how can we shift our priorities to be more present? What can you eliminate, consolidate, delegate, or delete? Completely eliminating that from your calendar. What can you get rid of from your personal responsibility list? Maybe it can be done by other people. Maybe it doesn't need to be done at all. Maybe it can be done in 3 months. Triage your calendar a little bit and say, am I just being busy to be busy? Because sometimes we take that as value, right? Like, oh, I'm important. My life matters because I'm super busy. But when you get down to what matters, your relationship matters. And so if you aren't making time for that, if that's not a priority in your life, then you might be building the wrong thing. If your relationship is not a priority, then you probably wouldn't want to be investing time to figure out what summer is and how to avoid winter, right? I'm expecting that you are here in this course with me because you want to build a solid, beautiful, fulfilling, intimate, connected relationship with your love partner. So if that's the case, and I believe it is, that person needs to be a priority in your life. More so than Facebook and social media, more so than shows, more than shopping, more than any of the other things that we could fill our time with. Your partner needs to be right up there. You are first, self-care is first care, and then partner care is right there. Because that's what we're building, is the relationship of our dreams. And that takes elbow work, and that takes, intention. And so that's what we're doing here. All right, thank you for fall, for joining me for this season. Our next season is the Crossroads, which is this magical place of possibility and power. So I can't wait to talk to you at the Crossroads. I'll see you there.